I said, are you being as brave and courageous and serving with integrity, worthy of those white stones in Arlington Cemetery from the soldiers of the past? That gives you a different approach. I started telling all my commanders and other people is, we have to wake up every morning saying every soldier at our formation wants to succeed. They want to do well. And it's our job to create conditions for them to be successful. If you approach it from that aspect, you become a servant leader.
This Veterans Day, I want to honor and lift up our servicemen and women who have given so much to our nation for our freedom. I'm Kristy Graham, host of On the Ground with Samaritan's Purse, where we take you to the front lines and behind the scenes of our work around the world. And for those of you who don't know, I come from a very long military family. My husband served, my dad, both my grandfathers, my brothers, cousins, uncles, and so many of my family members, they have and are continuing to serve our United States military. And so this day's personal. I love our veterans, and I love sharing with you the importance of recognizing and honoring them. And so today, I'm excited to have General Dick Cody on the show. He is a retired 4-star general who served our country for decades as an Army aviator. But he's also a classmate of my dad's from West Point. And so it was fun to talk to somebody who has such a long history with my family. General Cody has flown all over the world, and now he's gone on to lead and teach the next generation. His service has never stopped, even after retirement. And I hope this encourages you to do the same. No matter what stage of life you're in, God can use you for His glory. And you don't have to wear the uniform to serve your country. And General Cody models this. When Hurricane Helene hit Western North Carolina, he kept serving. He flew his personal helicopter to help Samaritan's Purse reach people in need. And I can't wait for you to hear more of that today. And shortly into our conversation, we had a special guest join us for the interview. My father-in-law, another pilot, Franklin Graham, stopped by and surprised us. He wanted to thank General Cody for his service. It's a fun conversation, but it will challenge you to find a place to serve and volunteer.
I'm glad I chose the route I chose. I certainly, now I'm in my fourth quarter of my life, and you look back and you say, wow, okay, I was lucky to have chosen that path because of the people that I got to serve with and be with, the experience, the hardships, which make you stronger, having to deal with all kinds of disasters, loss of friends over the years. I didn't come from a military family, but I just wanted to be part of something that was structured and that would challenge me. And so, just like your dad, I entered West Point in 1968. 1968 was a pretty rough time in our country. And West Point gave me an opportunity to focus, gave me an opportunity to build camaraderie with like-minded people.
One of my favorite verses is Proverbs 16:9. In his heart a man plans his course, but the Lord directs his steps. And I say all the time, we can look back, like now you can look back and see the way that it makes sense in hindsight. But in the time, if you're praying and you're seeking the Lord and you're asking for guidance and wisdom, it might not always make sense, but He is leading and guiding you. And we now see that He had a plan and a purpose for you, and you are still doing what you love. But speak about, when did aviation come into the picture? Because for people listening, you have to choose your branch. I don't know if aviation was your choice in the beginning or how it came to be, but what made you want to fly?
Well, that was part of my decision to want to go to West Point. I got to watch the Cobras and Huey gunships on TV, and I said, wow, I'd like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards because back then aviation wasn't a branch. And so I was branched infantry. And so it took me till 1976 to get to flight school. And then I was fortunate enough, I got to spend all my time up through 2-star general flying helicopters. I stayed in units the whole time. But it was a dream of mine. I tell people this all the time. I still fly, as you know. I think why I've survived, but for the grace of God go I, some of these missions you end up flying, is before I ever got in a helicopter, every flight, I always reminded myself, I said a little prayer, just like I used to do the sign of the cross before I shot a foul shot. But I reminded myself how it was dangerous. And dangerous, exciting, fulfilling. And so I ended up transitioning into being an Army aviator, and then they made it a branch in 1984. And so I had to make a decision. Did I want to stay infantry branch, transportation branch, or aviation branch? But I decided to stay aviation. And then the rest is history, I guess.
I love that. And I love when you can love what you get to do. And like you said, you still are getting to fly, which is such a gift. And I know, you know, my father-in-law, Franklin, he loves to fly. That he always says, I'm thankful the Lord lets me, you know, do my passion for ministry. And so, hold on one second. We have some visitors. My father-in-law and Edward, they can't help themselves. They wanted to come say hello. We were just talking about aviation.
Well, General, how are you, sir?
Reporting for duty there, Reverend.
This is so fun. And hey, that's perfect segue. We were just talking about why he chose West Point, why he chose aviation. We were just about to get into coming to Samaritan's Purse.
If you got to study something, you might as well study aviation because aviation's fun. And when I went to school, it was either sit in class or I could be out the airport flying an airplane. So that was not a big decision for me. I went to the airport. But aviation has been very good for Samaritan's Purse, and we so appreciate, General, you coming down and helping us out during a very difficult time for the people here in Western North Carolina. You were not only an encouragement to our staff and team, but every place you flew, every group that you landed, I mean, just the hope that it gave people during that time. And, you know, it's hard for us to understand, but when you've lost everything, and then all of a sudden here comes some people in a helicopter and they're flying stuff in, and all of a sudden they realize, you know, we haven't been forgotten. And so that you were just a big part of that, and just so grateful.
Well, I was able to, in a small part, join your great, I call you guys the Orange Army. Every place I landed, I could see those orange T-shirts out there and just helping people. But, you know, for me, it was an easy decision when I was watching the devastation. And then I saw all those helicopter pilots. But I will say this, your operation out of Boone, you know, with the 3 Chinooks we had and Rodney Allison's Black Hawk and the 407 and then the State Police Big Jet Ranger. When you think about the numbers of missions and the places we landed in, and we didn't get a single aircraft hurt.
That's right.
I mean, I can remember the first mission. I had to go out to Big Creek, and there were wires all over the place and mountains, and you know how the winds are.
Yeah, sure.
And I said to myself, okay, Cody, you've got this. You flew in Korea. You know how to handle all this, you know, pinnacles and mountains and stuff. And then the other side of the angels on my shoulder said, yeah, Cody, but that was 40 years ago. You better be good. So when people ask me about how was it flying, I said, well, first off, it was dangerous flying, but everybody was so disciplined. And every time we landed, we knew we had to get back there because, as you said, those people were totally cut off.
That's right.
And it made you want to be better. And the other thing I saw out there was how our pastors and our volunteer that you had out there with Samaritan's Purse, how they took care of their neighbors. And then how their neighbors took care of each other. And in this world we live in right now where everybody wants to be on this side or that side and throw mud at each other, I saw nothing but the greatness in America. Human beings treating each other the way we should all treat each other in God's likeness. Because we're all, you know, we're all Americans. We all should live in the image and likeness of the Lord and treat each other that way. And what you all, it motivated me. And when I saw, I tell everybody every day, I said, I've never seen a better organization than Samaritan's Purse that lets people go out and be the best of who they should be. And that's a powerful thing.
But General, Samaritan's Purse, over the years, we've had the privilege of having some great people work with us, people like yourself that get involved, bring your expertise and your talents and loan them to the organization. But we really couldn't do it without these great men and women that God brings across our path. And when you walked across the runway and told me you're reporting for duty, and I thought, wow. This is huge, to have someone like your stature and yourself come down just willing to fly whatever needed to be flown. And you did it, and you brought your own helicopter, and that was incredible.
Well, Mrs. Cody now doesn't mind that I own that helicopter because she said, you did good with it.
Yeah.
I said, absolutely. You're not just having fun.
Well, and what a lot of people may not realize, you were just 2 weeks out of a hip replacement, and I know that couldn't have been too comfortable getting in and out of that helicopter.
The adrenaline's always there, Reverend, as you know, when you're flying.
Yeah.
At night, though, yeah, I did use a lot of Tylenol. Then it kicks in.
Well, thank you, General. I appreciate it. I'll let you get back to Kristy. I know she's got a bunch of questions she wants to ask you, but thank you so much for doing this today. And
it's good seeing you.
Well, good to see you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Well, thank you. That was fun to hear you two, and I know you worked together in those days. And so you mentioned you saw it on the news. You saw that what Samaritan's Purse was doing, and you felt a call to serve. And again, as Franklin mentioned, you had just had surgery yourself. I don't think you were cleared to fly, but you just said you have a heart of service, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Our veterans, they want to serve, and they love serving something greater than themselves, and they do it for their country in their uniform. But you wanted to do something beyond the uniform. And so that's what I want to talk about today, that even if you're not wearing the uniform, you can still serve. And so maybe just, talk about what made you want to get involved in this air response.
But I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time commanding troops, from 2 company commands, battalion commands, 2 of those, brigade, regiment, then the 101st. And over time, you sit there and there's all volunteer force after Vietnam. And these are all volunteers. And early on, I was amazed at these young people signing up, volunteering to serve our country. But then when I became a division commander and then in charge of the Army as the vice chief, and we were sending 200,000 soldiers in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan every year, rotating in and out. And we had those young people enlisting and re-enlisting, knowing the cost of war. I fell in love with their spirit, their patriotism, their courage, and that makes you want to do better and makes you want to serve them versus being served by them. And so that really shaped me. And I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was 06 or 07. I'm walking home at night, and so I'd ruck march from the Pentagon back through Arlington Cemetery back up to Fort Myer. And my wife, Vicki, would meet me halfway. And one night it was a tough day in the Pentagon, and I'm rucking along, and I'm on that cobblestone, and all the white crosses started showing up. And I had a hard talk with myself. I said, are you being as brave and courageous and serving with integrity, worthy of those white stones in Arlington Cemetery from the soldiers of the past? That gives you a different approach. And what I started telling all my commanders and other people is, we have to wake up every morning saying every soldier in our formation wants to succeed. They want to do well. And it's our job to create conditions for them to be successful. If you approach it from that aspect, you become a servant leader. And you treat people entirely different. You want them to rise to their human potential, wherever it is. And then when I retired, I said, geez, I got to keep serving. And so I joined Homes for Our Troops. I think, we build homes all over the country. We've done 424 right now. And these are young men and women that, severely wounded. And I sent most of them to war. I need to continue to assist them because they never quit on us. They wrote a blank check to you and I and the American people when they took that oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. They didn't know what that check was going to cost them. It was going to cost them an arm, a leg, blind them. And just like with Samaritan's Purse, the American people want to cover those checks. And so it's not hard to want to serve. And then when I was talking to a lot of your people that were volunteering for Samaritan's Purse out in Western North Carolina, I'd tell them, you don't have to, they all thank me for my service. And I go, no, thank you. I said, but you don't have to wear a uniform to serve America. You can serve America by being a great citizen. You can serve America by being a great neighbor and helping others.
I'm glad you said that, because that's part of what this episode is. Yes, we want to thank and honor our veterans and the men and women in uniform, but you're right, as Americans, we can and should all serve. And I think, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. I think we are required, to give to our country and serve our neighbor. And, we model Samaritan's Purse, we serve in Jesus' name. Jesus is our ultimate servant leader that we watch. And he actually said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve and give my life a ransom for many. And so that is our model. And I just want you to speak to maybe people, because when you got out and you said you wanted to continue serving, I know many have a hard time when they take that uniform off. And so speaking to some that maybe it wasn't their choice, they were forced out medically, and so it is hard. And they find, I can't serve. I can't do what I did. Maybe their identity was in their uniform. And so now they're having a hard time. What would you say to somebody that maybe feels stuck?
Those who have served and taken off the uniform, it is a hard transition.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make choices. And whether you were forced to retire, have to get out medically, and all you want is to be part of that unit again, that camaraderie, your brothers and sisters in arms, that structure, that the purposeful life that you lived, and all of a sudden that's taken from you. And what I tell young people is go find something, some organization that's doing well, that's doing good for people. Pick out a nonprofit that is pure in its motives, pure in its purpose, and you will find that same camaraderie. It'll just be different. Because most of them, we have way too many suicides of our veterans, way too many. And so I would just say to all our veterans out there, we're not done with you yet. America still needs you. You just got to find out where you can plug in with your talents, because each one of them have talents that they can give. And it's amazing to see the number of veterans who started their own nonprofits. Whether, I don't want to say them over here, but who they are. And they're employing other veterans. They're entrepreneurs for sure, but they're doing good work. And so that would be my message. Find a place. There's so many great organizations out there that you can join, and you'll get to serve again. And it's just a different way of serving.
Thank you for speaking of that. And I agree with you. It'll never replace, and I still get teary. I miss the military so much. And I would have chosen to stay in forever, if the Lord didn't call us out of it. But again, I love what we're doing now. And I think you're right. It's going to be different. It's like a chapter of a book, but it's not, hard isn't always bad, especially like you said, when you're looking to be selfless, and you're changed when you get involved with other people. So maybe talk about that. So you saw in the news, Hurricane Helene devastated, our community, and roads were cut off, landscapes were altered. I mean, I think people, unless you saw it for yourself, you don't understand just how bad it was. What was it like to be there in those early days?
Well, first off, I think it helped my rehabilitation. As soon as I saw it, I was laying on the couch with ice packs and stuff, feeling sorry for myself. And then I saw down outside of Asheville, they had an airport, and they had all the civilian helicopters flying around. And I noticed a couple of my spec ops guys that used to work for me. And I said, ooh. So I started making phone calls. And I told my wife, I said, geez, I got to get up and get ready and take my helicopter down there. And she said, well, you better get moving. You haven't left the couch for a while. So that day, literally, I got my walker and I started making laps around this house.
Wow.
And then I think about 6 days later, I went to physical therapy twice. They gave me some great exercises. And by that time, I had contacted Rodney Allison, who was in the Spec Ops unit with me back in the old days. And I called him up and I said, and he told me where they were working out of. And he says, but don't come there. It's not right. We're all moving to Boone. And I said, okay, can you guys use my helicopter? He says, when can you come? I said, okay, I'm coming. And then I told my wife, and she says, well, you're not going until I can see you get in and out of that helicopter. So Vicki actually went up to our hangar with me.
Love that.
Pulled the helicopter out. I jumped in. I said, okay, you can get in too. We're going to fly. So she jumped in the co-pilot seat, and we flew for about a half hour, landed, and she says, okay, I'll let you go.
Wow.
So the next day, I went up to Boone about 3.5 hours and met your husband and Reverend Graham. and it was bustling. And they just, just landed there and started flying. I think within 15 minutes of landing, they had already had me loaded up. You know what I really liked, though, was seeing the workers there. Everybody was synchronized. Everybody was joyful. They were laser focused on the mission. If you remember during that time, Kristy, the cold weather started coming in big time. And we had all that propane, and we had to get it out and distribute it, but we had to get the heaters out there, as well as food, water, and other things. And so there was a real rush to get that stuff in there to them. But I was absolutely impressed with all the pastors I met. I mean, I landed at more little parking lots of chapels, and they knew exactly what their people needed. And the other thing I saw was people were, they all looked tired. They lost their homes. The kids didn't have schools to go to. A lot of the little kids that come around the helicopter, But they all hung out with each other and bolstered each other up. And it just made me want to keep flying every day, I was doing 6-7 missions a day out there. And you just didn't want to stop.
It was one of the most chaotic yet synchronized times, and again, and that's why Samaritan's Purse, that's why we work with the local church all over the world. Everything that we do, we work with the local church because they know the people, they know the community, they know what the needs are on the ground. And I feel like you've probably learned and grown so much. And again, you didn't need to get involved. You were busy, you had a lot going on, but the Lord, led you and called you to do this. So how else have you, looking back, how has it changed you and maybe impacted you? Because I want to talk again to service. I think when we serve, and like you said, you were laying on the couch feeling sorry for yourself. And, we all get there in different ways. But I think you're right. When we serve, it changes us. Yes, we want to go and help change the problem, but we end up being changed.
It's reminded me how precious life is. We lost a lot of people in that disaster. And so when you sit there and see it firsthand, it reminds you that you need to make every day count. I believe in a higher being. You can't look out at night and see all the stars to think that we're the only ones who came up with this. There's a greater power out there, and they have a plan for you. And for me, and my wife and I have talked about this, the rest of our days we ought to be giving back and paying it forward for the next generation in whatever way we can. And I really think it starts bottoms up out there. Town by town, church by church, organization by organization. And we have this young generation out there. We need to show them what right looks like.
Well, thank you so much again for your time and for recounting. I just wanted to bring it back to Veterans Day, just to thank and honor our veterans. And so maybe what do you think of when you think of Veterans Day, and how can we honor our veterans well?
I would tell all of Americans, again, you don't have to wear a uniform to serve this country, but when Veterans Day is just a day, but there's 364 days after that. And if you want to honor a veteran, saying thank you for their service is very nice. We appreciate it. They appreciate it. But if you really want to thank those who have donned the cloth of this nation, live your life as an American worthy of their sacrifice and the sacrifice of families. Because it's not just behind every serviceman and woman is also a wife, children that have also had to bear those hardships. And so thanking veterans on Veterans Day and carrying the flag around and saying thank you for your service, I think it's wonderful. We need more of it. But at the same time, think about, wow, what did they give us? They ensured our independence. They assured our freedom. They assured our American way of life. I need to honor that in everything I do as my life. And then the other thing I would tell them is we need more young men and women raising their right hand, whether it's to join the military or to go out and join organizations to the betterment of America. And I think the timing is right in our country. But there's greatness going on every day in America. And direct your children to those pockets.
I love our veterans. As I said, I know so many personally, and I'm forever grateful for their service and sacrifice. But I also love how the Lord brings different partners to serve with Samaritan's Purse. God knew that we needed General Cody's expertise in flying, and so he placed the people of Western North Carolina on his heart and prompted him to respond. And during our response, I remember how much General Cody encouraged our team as well. His servant's heart, his servant leadership, and his work ethic encouraged our team to keep going when it was hard and when they were exhausted. And again, this mission, this aviation mission, wasn't something that we had on our radar. So many people had to step up that had never really done this kind of work. And so people like General Cody, their leadership and expertise were critical in these missions. And again, I hope this encourages you in your personal walk with the Lord and your service to our country. We are to work heartily for the Lord and not for man. And this can look different in all stages of life. What the Lord is calling you is going to be different than what he's calling me. But I encourage you to be open to his plan, what he has for you in this moment. I love the book of Esther, where it says, for such a time as this, she was called to do something brave and bold that she didn't have planned. And so I encourage you to look around. For such a time as this, where has the Lord put you? And how can you serve him? Thank you so much for listening today. Have a great week.